Good day, everybody. This is Yin Yang here on morning number 1772, consecutive days in a row with morsels of a thought, of probably wisdom, hopefully that we learn the right things to do, because knowing the right things to do is having wisdom, and then actually taking the magic action is virtue. And we're about to reach that point in this book where the author George J. Chanos says action is magic. Now we are reading chapter 86 in Millennial Samurai, Book 1, A Mindset for the 21st Century by George J. Chanos, former Nevada uh, uh, Attorney General. Okay, authority. The law requires that all of us obey the lawful orders of a police officer. Absent such understanding and agreement, this world would quickly devolve into chaos. Now, the author must have been an incredibly good lawyer, because he did affect laws in many states, not just his own. Anyway, we'll go back to the author's words. When you look at the tragic police encounters that plague our country, virtually all of them have one thing in common, and it's not race, geography, or economics. In the vast majority of cases, tragic police encounters begin with a breakdown in communication. When police officers encounter someone who runs, someone who fails to follow their lawful orders, or someone with a defiant and disrespectful attitude, that encounter quickly results in failed communication and inevitably ends in escalation. Generational differences relating to our varied perceptions about the proper role of police and authority are a common theme and a major contributing factor to the increases in police shootings we are all witnessing. Now, I know that yesterday, our social workers put together an intergenerational activity where I actually wound up playing chess with three 12-year-olds. And it was very interesting to communicate back and forth. I found that I was communicating on a level with them, and it was fun. All right, back to the book. Prior authorization. Prior generations could generally be expected to respect authority. Rarely did they question or defy authority. That is not the case. That is not the case with millennials. Far too often, millennials of all ethnic backgrounds routinely question and defy authority. This is already raising serious issues between millennials and police. According to a study published by the Journal of Pediatrics, by the age of 23, over 40% of young adult males have been arrested at least once for something other than a minor traffic violation. Wow, that's horrible. What do you know? I know that this author is really good with just, he always knows the numbers. He says, the Huffington Post estimates the number of those arrested by age 23. Excuse me, I'm still yawning. I'm 5 hours behind myself. The Huffington Post The Huffington Post estimates the number of those arrested by age 23 to be as high as 50% of African American males and 40% of Caucasian males. This high arrest rate is troubling because of the corrosive effects that arrests and incarceration can have on a young person's emotional, mental, and social development. These arrest records will follow these individuals and make it far more difficult for them to obtain employment, get housing, loans, or an education. It's horrible. There are no doubt a number of reasons for these increases in arrests. But again, one of the major contributing factors may well be an increase in defiant authorities and a lack of respect for authority. Police often exercise discretion in making arrests for minor infractions, and police officers are human beings. Some would argue that such discretion is being exercised with racial bias. This is true in some cases, and when it is true, that is entirely unacceptable and it needs to be addressed, whether through increased training, improved hiring, termination, and or prosecution. However, I would argue that a lack of respect for authority has a far greater influence on the exercise of police discretion than race. Common sense would suggest that police are less likely to arrest someone who is respectful than someone who is disrespectful, regardless of race. My 5 points of advice are as follows. Respect. Show respect for police at all times. For the police. When interacting with the police, be open, honest, and forthright. Visibility. Number 2. Do not attempt to hide or conceal anything. Keep your hands out of your pockets and where the police officer can see them. This is critical. Your life may depend on it. There are so many people who are reaching for something in their pocket and they get shot to death. So be very, very slow and careful in your movements. Slow motion, slow, slow, slow. And if you have any question during the time, then pause right there and stop. And then use more words and say, Officer, is it all right if I may check my pocket for this and that? And the officer may or may not agree. Your life may depend on it. Do not attempt to hide or steal any visibility. Do not attempt to hide or conceal anything. Keep your hands out of your pockets and where the police officer can see them. This is critical. Your life may depend on it. Obedience. Do not make any sudden moves whatsoever. Do exactly as you are told without delay and without objection. If a police officer says don't move, don't move. Period. Courtesy. Never argue with a police officer. If you have an argument to make, you can make it with the district attorney, your lawyer, or the judge. Restraint. Do not involve yourself in police matters that do not involve you personally. Do not attempt to make arguments on behalf of someone else or in any way interfere with a police officer who is doing his or her job. If you follow this advice, you will be far less likely to have any problem with 99% of the police officers you encounter. You will be less likely to be arrested and you will come home to your family alive and well. If you choose to disregard this advice, understand that you do so at your peril. This isn't something you should take lightly. That's the very truth. That's the very truth. With authority, right there and then are the police. And the police, the reason you have to be so careful is that the police do have guns in their holster on their belts, and they may or may not be startled into shooting at somebody. So make sure you never say something that would startle a police officer, and that you are respectful, as is recommended by George J. Chanos. Okay. Police are human, he says. They make mistakes. They have stressful jobs and are constantly involved in high risk encounters filled with uncertainty. They have families at home. They will protect themselves and they carry guns. When you argue with a police officer or fail to immediately follow their lawful instructions, you create unnecessary risks for them, for yourself, and for others. In other words, they risk their careers by shooting wrong if they decide to use a gun. You risk your life as well as your companion, that you are risking your life if you make sudden movements or if you don't immediately follow their lawful orders. Yes, make the situation far more dangerous. A critical society cannot long endure if people are allowed, let alone encouraged, to challenge or interfere with police on the street. If you want to live in a civilized society, then you need to understand, accept, and embrace this concept. Failure to show a lawful order of a police Failure to follow a lawful order of a police officer, interfering with a police officer, and resisting arrest are all crimes punishable by fines and or imprisonment for good reason. Without these rules, all members of society would be at greater risk. We are reading A Mindset for the 21st Century by George J. Chanos. The real book title is Millennial Samurai, Book 1. A Mindset for the 21st Century. Hopefully that we get a lot of wisdom out of it, which we already have done. We're halfway through the book and we've got so much to get to deal with here. Do not attempt to substitute your for their for other do not attempt to substitute your judgment for theirs. What should or should not happen during an encounter with police? Accept and respect their authority. Do not disrespect them. If you feel that you have an argument to make, or you feel that your rights have been violated, you are not without recourse. Tell your parents, call a lawyer, or take it up with the judge, but never argue with a cop on the street. Anyone who advises you differently is giving you very bad advice and may be risking your life. Watch the following videos and comment on them at millennial-samurai.com/authority, small a. From those commenting, I will select up to 5 people to participate in a Facebook Live program broadcast that will also be featured on YouTube and millennialsamurai.com. Please provide your email address when commenting so that we can contact you. So I'm going to read you these websites names. You're not going to be able to copy them down, but you'll be able to, I think you'll be able to jump to them when you go to certain sites. So Authority, Taser Coma by Bryce Masters is written on https://www.facebook.com/now this news, capitals on all the letters, but all one word, /videos/108103675413009. Okay, so Taser coma, Authority, 18-year-old and broad 18-year-old and bystander both arrested. Authority, Kevin J. Ferguson. Authority, 15-year-old girl and bystander. Identify the video. Identify the video that you watched and then answer the following questions for that video. What do you think of the conduct of the individuals being arrested? Number 2, what do you think of the conduct of the police officers? Number 3, do you believe that following the above advice would have prevented any or all of these incidents from escalating, and why? Number 4, how would you have handled these encounters with police? Number 5, how would you have responded in these situations if you were the police officer? Yeah. He talks a great deal about police, and it's important because the police are sometimes undertrained. No detriment on their own fault. It is more of a systematic problem where the training may or may not be complete, or the training may or may not have been comprehensive enough to cover topics. I mean, you could get a dog catcher and fewer rules, but even a dog catcher knows when not to argue with police, for example, just for instance. So make sure you are obedient to the police. They can see your hands at all times, and make no sudden or jerky movements. Okay. Now, we're going to, we have read Parenting 101. This was back in, I think it was May 27th. Here's a page that we haven't touched yet. How to be a good father. Begin by understanding the responsibility, the importance and the joy of fatherhood. Far too few men understand the importance of this sacred obligation. 43% of U.S. children live in fatherless homes. 72% of all Americans believe this is most significant social problem in the U.S. today. The statistics on children from fatherless homes show that 90% of 90% of homeless and runaway children are from fatherless homes. 80% of rapists are from fatherless homes. 63% of youth suicides are from fatherless homes. 85% of youths in prison are from fatherless homes. 71% of high school dropouts are from fatherless homes. Now, your participation in any activity can have consequences, and you need to be prepared to accept personal responsibility for those consequences, especially the consequences that can arise from sexual intercourse. It doesn't matter how or why you became a father, excuse me. It doesn't matter how you feel about the mother. All that matters is that you are a father, and with that status comes certain responsibilities. You need to understand and accept that reality before you engage in unprotected sexual activity that creates that responsibility. I have done and accomplished a great deal in my life, but there is no experience that I treasure more or am prouder of than my experience as a father. He has a daughter. My most treasured memories are of time spent with my daughter, my nieces, and my nephews. It should be noted that you don't need to wait to be a father or to experience the joy of fatherhood. I have a neighbor who has had 8 children with different people, and one of the youngest is now about as tall as I am. It should be noted that you don't need to wait to be a father to experience the joy of fatherhood. There are millions of children who need a father figure in their lives today. If you're interested in helping these children, there are many things you can do. Contact local schools, churches, and community organizations to offer assistance. Offer to mentor children whose fathers are absent from their lives. Determine what level of commitment works for you. Once a year, once a month, once a week. Offer these young people the same advice, guidance, and encouragement that any good father would offer to their own children. Take them to see where you work, to lunch, to a meeting, to a movie. Read to them, encourage them to read them passages from this book, or give them a copy of their own. There are very few things that you can do with your time that would be more important or fulfilling. So I have a great bookmark that has a lot of depth. I really like it a lot. It's Chloe and my late Bea, capital B instead. And when I got Dea, I said, well, it rhymes. Bea meant beautiful, and Dea means goddess in Latin. And I don't know what language beauty is in. For sure, Spanish, I guess. Anyway, Okay, respect your elders. Treat your elders as you would want your children to treat you. Lead by example. The older citizens of ancient Greece and Rome were highly respected for their wisdom. Councils of elders helped rule these societies. In Greek and Greek American culture, old age is still honored and celebrated. Respect for elders is central to Greek and Italian families. The same is true of many cultures. Chinese do that too. The traditional basis for elder respect and Asian cultures is Confucian teachings. In the teachings of Confucius, respect for parents and elders is a central theme and is seen as an essential foundation for a good society. Essentially, it directs offspring to recognize the care and aid received from their parents and in return, to pay respect to their parents. Material support for one's parents is not all that is experienced. Excuse me. Material support for one's parents is not all that is expected. Deference to your elders and a genuine reverence for them is also expected. According to Confucius, the legendary Chinese philosopher, elder respect must also go extend beyond the boundary of the family. At home, quote, a young man should be dutiful toward his parents. Going outside, he should be respectful of toward other elders and be cautious in deeds and trustworthy in words. This is from the Analects of Confucius. We all grow old. Whenever you look at an elderly person, understand this one day that will be you. Understand this one day. One day that will be you. How do you want to be treated when you're old? When you have an amazing knowledge bank, why wouldn't you use it? Simply by virtue of their age, your elders have seen more than you have. They may not know what you know. Their experiences and their knowledge may be very different from your own, but that does not mean that you can't learn from them. On the contrary, you can learn a great deal from them that will be very relevant in your life. Now, how do you want to be treated when you're old? Mountaineers normally have the most experienced member of the team lead the group, and for good reason. They do it because experienced members either know the best routes and or know where to stop to avoid hurting or killing themselves. The idea is that the more experienced climber is the expert, and younger members of the team, even if they are more physically fit, need to learn from them and respect their knowledge. Not using their knowledge would be foolish. Simply by virtue of their age, your elders have seen much more than you have. They may not know what you know. Their experiences and their knowledge may be very different from your own, but that does not mean that you can't learn from them. On the contrary, you can learn a great deal from them that will be very relevant in your life. The history of our lives comes from elders. Who we are derives from our parents and our ancestors. Disrespecting those who came before us is like disrespecting ourselves. Your elders know you better than anyone and are therefore in a better position to advise you than most. Learn from them, treasure them. Okay, old Kinderhook.